When we were roommates and schlepping back and forth to the law school, it gave us a chance to talk about the cases, the law, and in addition, what were we going to do when we finished. I was much more determined at that point to not let children interfere with my determination to have a legal career. Pat was much less sure. We both stayed home for a number of years while I raised 3 children, she raised 5.
When we were young, it didn't seem that unusual to us that our mom was a lawyer and was working all the time. You know, it was just a difference. You'd go to someone's house and her mother would be cooking cupcakes after dinner, and at our house, our mother would run off to the den to work on her brief, or she would be off doing a trial in Texas, and that was what our normal existence was. And it was only, I think Freddie said this a little bit later when we started to make choices and understand things more ourselves, that we understood it was actually quite unusual.
When I was in junior high and high school, and it was very fashionable to wear t-shirts and gym shorts, and everybody was wearing their alma maters, Mom came home with Justice Department and FBI ones, and I was the most popular kid in 9th grade because we had these really cool logos all over our shirts and shorts, and that's what I thought was really important. And then sort of, you know, realizing afterwards, oh, she has a pretty big job.
In Pat's work, there are 2 sides. There is what I guess we could call the Yale Law School side, the brilliant intellect and analytical ability, the idealism, the passion for justice, one side. But there's also the Torrington, Connecticut, I think Pat would call it, the Torrington, Connecticut, McGowan side, commonsensical, practical, realistic. And when you get that combination, you know you're going to get the best possible judgment on any question that you bring to her.
She became quickly one of the most respected judges at the tribunal. When I was monitoring or watching the trials, often there's a particular procedure at the ICTY that allows judges to not only, of course, rule on objections, but after all the testimony's over, the judges can ask their own questions. And I found that when Judge Wald asked a question, that whoever was in the audience with me would stop whispering, stop, you know, not paying as close of attention, and listen very specifically as Judge Wald, almost like she had a scalpel in her hand, would dissect the issue, ask very probing, relevant questions, again in a very understated way, and try to get to the bottom of what had happened.
One of the very early projects New Perimeter took on was to help develop an independent judiciary in Kosovo. I mean, there wasn't anybody in the world who could be as good at providing guidance for us as Pat. And not only was she willing to help us design the project and ask all the very difficult questions about it, she was also willing, when the project was over, to travel with us to Kosovo, to talk to people there to find out if we had any impact and how we could have done it better. We had a running joke, but it was serious at New Perimeter, which is that unless a project passed Pat's difficult scrutiny, we weren't going to take it on.
The judge has an incredible way of being both perfectly direct and absolutely kind. People will have heard the phrase, the velvet hammer, and that sure has always seemed to fit the bill for me. I remember about 2 weeks into my clerkship, I had worked unbelievably hard on a draft. It was probably the best thing that I or anybody else had ever written. And I gave it to the judge, and about an hour later she came back and she said, "Would you prefer to talk about this tomorrow?" And I looked down and some horror had happened. She had just spilled a well of red ink on every page, and it really taught me so much. She was, made quite clear that what I had produced was terrible, but wasn't sort of lording that over me. She was trying to teach me.
Look at her varied career, law clerk, private practice at Arnold and Porter. Then she had 10 years out having her family. Then she came back to a public interest practice, and then served in the Carter administration in the Department of Justice. Then she's named to the court. She does 20 years of that. And then she chooses to retire from the court and becomes a judge on the International Criminal Tribunal for the former Yugoslavia. And so she's always taking on new challenges.
I just hope I'm as vibrant and as busy and as active when I reach that stage as she is. I mean, when I talk to some of my friends or my colleagues at work and I say, well, you know, my mom she's at NYU today giving a speech, and then she's going to go out and do a moot court in California, and she does have to take this quick trip to Brussels, and they just look at me and they say, how old is your mom?
When I first started my clerkship, one of the things that we worked on was a tribute that the judge was writing about someone else, which was very nice. And at the end, she was really trying to figure out how to capture this person. She came up with the phrase, he was a beloved curmudgeon. And then she came back to the law clerks and she said, you know, one day you all are going to have the chance to say something about me, and I don't want you using that word at all. We said, all right, Judge, we will not call you a curmudgeon. She said, no. I mean beloved. That we weren't allowed to call her that. That she just has that sense of not being so self-important despite everything in the world that she has done. Judge, I'm so sorry for all the things I screwed up and you never found out about. This is a great opportunity for me to just clear the air.
Pat, I value your friendship. And of course, like everyone here, I value your extraordinary contribution to the law and to this country.
Certainly, there's a lot of people who are not able to be part of this effort that you all are organizing that would probably want to join me in thanking her for her expertise and her willingness to get on a plane, you know, and fly into Sarajevo as the war was ending. To listen to the tedious testimony at the ICTY about horrific events and do her best to make sure that justice happened.
You've been a role model all of our lives, and I know that we're all very proud of you, and Dad would have been unbelievably proud of you.
Congratulations. We're so proud of you. You've taught us so much. I too feel Dad is somehow watching and would love this moment and be so proud. And we love you.
Patrice, this is my chance to say congratulations for this award. It is so deserved, as are all the others that you have acquired over the years. I love it that you've been recognized, and I treasure the friendship that you've extended to me with warmth, with humor, in a way that I could not have imagined would be as supportive of me over a lifetime of 50 years. In short, you go, girl.